What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Backliners Podcast. Aggro and Barracuda, as per usual. Sorry we are a little late today. It's
right on time.
Right on time, as I'm sure everyone did not hear you say, Barra, because I'm assuming... I didn't even look at the audio levels. I'm assuming they aren't working right off the rip. And so I'm just going to continue to change things until it looks like it might start working. And then eventually it will. Or it won't. Oh, you heard him? Oh, crap. Oh, crap. Now you don't hear him. I don't know, but now I don't know which one it was on that you heard him, chat. I don't know. Barra, say something for me? Nope. Dude, this is actually... Okay, I'm going to get this fixed. I've decided...
In my opinion, neither one of us should be here, and it should just be Mifflin.
I think everyone agrees with that. I think we got the most... that was the best guest you've ever had. I will say that that was the best guest you ever had for, like, every new guest we have on. Which is great. I love that. I want people to enjoy the people we're bringing on, and clearly people do, and that's awesome. I do think Mifflin might have been the most... We need him on
aggressive
all the time. Yeah,
they love...
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, he was. That's just what Mifflin brings. For sure. Miff
brought
is...
the EUSEC to Worlds, apparently.
He fired him up, huh? How about that? They kind of popped off. The EUSEC, you know what they didn't do, Barra? They didn't pick Kronos Alkwong and wait until late game every game. They didn't pick early game, you know. They didn't sit around and do nothing, but they did stuff at the very least. And they looked really good.
I mean, whenever the SEC games are on, I don't watch them.
Yeah.
But from Mambo's set against Dragons, where they ended up winning a game, I mean, if you're going like toe-to-toe with Dragons in the early to mid game, then I kind of feel like you're playing Smite correctly.
Yeah, you're doing something right. That's for sure. And we will see Hex Mambo at Worlds, excuse me, alongside some other teams. Before we get into that, this is obviously a big episode. Bear and I are both kind of frantic because, Bear, I don't know when you leave, but I leave do you leave tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
Oh, baby. What time are you hopping on that flight?
My flight's at 7:15.
How far are you from the airport, roughly? You don't have to dox yourself here, but... Because I'm super far, and my flight is 7:15 Thursday morning.
Yeah, I'll just say I'll be leaving my house way earlier than I want to be.
Are we talking in the 3 a.m. range?
No. Well, okay. I don't know when we're supposed to leave, to get to the airport. Because I feel like people have said it's supposed to be an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then I do that and I wait for 90 minutes.
Yes.
And I'm like,
and that is the intent.
You guys are trolling.
No, that's the... Oh, wait. Are you a... don't get to the air... Okay. As everyone knows, as evidenced by this podcast, it's late today. I'm late to everything. All the time.
Mm-hmm. I've had a very busy day, so I was not able to stream before
it's
the podcast.
Listen, I am who I am. My parents are the two most late people I've ever known in my entire life. They are each 30 plus minutes late to anything. I am consistently 2 minutes late to everything. And I think, all things considered, that is a minor miracle. And I don't beat myself up about it. Maybe I should give myself more, flack for it. But I've improved to this point, and I'm happy with where I am. I have never in my life been anywhere close to late for a flight that I could control. That is the one place, because it is so inconvenient and so much money, that I will happily sit at the airport for 2 hours in order to make sure that I know that I got there and I don't have to pay any additional hundreds of dollars in order to get wherever I'm going. I think people who... Ro just said... Pack last minute, arrived at airport 45 minutes before takeoff, never missed a flight. That is psycho behavior, Ro. I can't believe it. You get there 45 minutes before takeoff, not even before boarding? Takeoff is a lie, bro. They close the doors before then, man, because you got to board. You can't be getting there that early. What happens if you get there and there's a whole bunch of people in security? You're just going to give up? I'd just give up. I would leave. I'd be like, whatever, I'm host. No point. I couldn't do it. I got to get there super early.
I mean, for tomorrow, I'm just hoping there's not like a lot of people between 5 and 6 in the morning. So
There will be more people than you think, but not a ton. I would expect that you would
yeah,
still be waiting for some amount of time at the Atlanta airport.
I was worried if it's like post-holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if the Atlanta airport, I mean, it is like a super busy airport.
Yeah.
If it's still getting slammed at this point, but
It is the busiest airport
yeah,
in the country. It will be busy. It is always busy there.
yeah, okay. I'll be getting there earlier then.
20 to 30 minutes, I think, is safe.
All right, on to Smite Talk.
Well, assuming that you're going to wait 20 to 30 minutes in line before you get to the train and all that kind of stuff. Don't get there 20 to 30 minutes early. You will miss it. That's definitely not the play. Yeah, so this all started because we're very frantic. World is coming up. A lot to do. Excitement is very high. Not just for the Smite World Championship, but of course for our special podcast episode right afterwards, Barry. Don't forget that I believe we said Wednesday, either Wednesday or Thursday. I should have known which one I said.
One of those days. It won't be Tuesday.
Okay, the 19th, Thursday, January 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be doing a special podcast episode. So no podcast on Tuesday. Excuse me. Only podcast on Thursday. And it's going to be one of our live AMA episodes. And we will have... This might be a 40-hour podcast. We're going to stay up for days talking on this podcast because we're going to have Smite World Championships to talk about. We're going to have patch notes reveals to talk about and keynote stuff to talk about. And it's going to be a great show. I can't wait for it because it's also our favorite type of show, which is where you, the listener/viewer, can get involved and be on the show directly. We did one of these before. It was the most fun podcast episode, in my opinion. It's even better this time. If you weren't a part of it last time, these live AMAs are shows where you can get a ticket to come in and join the show. Before it was audio only. Now you will be able to join with your webcam and your microphone if you want. You obviously don't have to. Interact with us, bring up your question. We'll shoot the breeze and then we'll kind of keep it moving. You can get tickets at you can get them in any description of if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or whatever, check the description. Go to prediction.com, PREEDICTION.com, the YouTube description, all that kind of stuff. It'll all be there. I did mention last time as well that if you're a Patreon subscriber, you get these tickets for a discounted rate. I think it's for non-Patreon subscribers, I think it's $8 in order to join the show. For Patreon subscribers, I think it's going to be $5 or $4, so just a few bucks off with supporting us. Again, you don't need to do that. It's just if you want to help support the show and be a part of it, this is a very cool way to do it. So again, Thursday, January 19th, 8 p.m. Book it. Show up, even if you don't get a ticket. We'd love to have you. I think it is our most fun way to do the podcast. And we are going to have an infinite amount of stuff to talk about. Okay, let's talk group stages, because this was the most Smite I've been able to sit down and watch it once in a long time, and I was having so much fun watching. If you couldn't tell from like my spam tweets during the week, that I was really invested in a lot of these sets and really had a lot of fun watching. Overall, I think the level of play was higher at the beginning than I expected and lower at the end. I thought that as the pressure mounted, it became more and more apparent that the pressure was mounting. Like, even between the Scarabs and the Warriors, you watch that set back, how many panic beads and terrible ultimates and that kind of stuff did you see that you could tell that moment was just weighing on it? And for as much as I hate watching bad Smite, and I've been notorious for losing my mind over like bad Smite in the past, bad Smite in big moment doesn't bother me even a little bit, because
it makes it more interesting.
It's more fun. It's so tense, and it's so, it just feels so human. It's why I love penalty kicks and football. It's awesome. And I was loving it. I was loving it top to bottom. I guess the first, let's kind of talk about the Titans, because they're in their own separate category, because they're the only team, SPL team, that looked clearly the part. They go 5-1 on the weekend. They drop game 1 to the Eldritch Hounds, and I'll be honest, Barry, when they dropped game 1 to the Hounds, I was like, uh-oh. I really think if they lost that game 2, I think they lose that set. I really do.
Wait, isn't it? I thought it was a best of 3 on that set.
No, it was a best of 5. That was Saturday.
Oh, okay.
They 2-0'd the Ravens.
Well, yeah, they do lose that set.
Yeah, imagine. I think, no. The Titans 2-0 the Ravens on Thursday. The second game of that set was not very clean, but they got the win, and that's what matters. Then they play the Hounds on Saturday. In game 1, Sino picks Chalk Jungle. They lose. Weird coincidence there. Hard to say if that's related in any way.
I think it was more about the Uller solo.
Yeah, that too.
I think those kind of picks are really good if you have a really reliable front line, but Sino kept trying to initiate by himself as full offense Chalk.
Yep.
Because that is just the Sino thing to do. Which I don't really blame them. I mean, I don't think they had initiation. I think they were like Sylvanas Chalk or something. So their only initiation is a Chalk blinking in.
Yep.
But I think even if like Uller solo like feels really good like individually, I think for a team, I think you just need more frontline.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing some like big split push game, which I don't think is that relevant right now in Smite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that was just a draft diff. I think after that, I don't think he went back to those style gods, even though I think he played a Hades later, which is full offense, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because that can just kill everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Chungle Uller combo definitely wasn't working, but just knowing the Titans and the pressure, the mental, all that kind of stuff, like, I really feel like if they went down 2-0, they were going to lose that set. And they would have still had another chance, but then the Hounds would have been through to Worlds, and it would have been this huge thing. But I was pleasantly surprised with how cleanly and quickly the Titans refocused, rebounded, and the set was not close after that. Games 2, 3, and 4 were looking pretty clean, if my memory serves. Maybe game 4 was close here, but yeah, it looks like game 4 was a little bit closer. I went out disc golfing in the middle of this set, but I was like watching it on my phone and listening to it.
Yeah, I was scrimming during most of these sets.
Yeah, that makes sense. But either way, the Titans a little worse than I thought they'd look, but generally about what I thought. Are you feeling like the Titan stock went up, down, or stayed the same after this weekend?
I would say it went up because I think they were playing better than they were at the qualies. I think when they had to play, or the playoffs, whatever. I think when they played against us, obviously you have 2 days of scrims.
Right.
I don't think you're going to look their best there. And I think with some cohesiveness added due to scrims, I think they looked way better. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we still have Sino with like his picks that he's going to pick. But yeah, I would say they look pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
I mean, you mess up game 1, you lose game 1 due to a draft, in my opinion, and then after that you look relatively clean. I don't think SPL teams are going to like completely blow out SEC teams right now. I mean, obviously. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of hard to just completely own a game of Smite right now.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think Titans looked about to be expected.
Okay, fair enough. Still can't give Paul Silla or a set. Can't give Paul set.
Yep.
Can't give Sino Naja. That's hard to draft against. No matter how good you are as a team, this team continues to be one of the hardest teams in the league to draft against. So they've got that going for them, which is nice. No matter what you think about their chances. Okay, the other big matchup that I want to talk about from Thursday was, of course, the Valkyries and the Hounds. The Hounds come in and really casually, almost, get this 2-0. It's not that these games weren't close in any way. Game 2 in particular was quite close. Aqua had a crazy game on the Alkwang.
Yeah, I missed game 2 of this set.
Yeah, it's a shame because they were kind of going crazy. Wowie dropped 62k player damage, 9, 1, and 6 on ROM in the loss. And lost. So you hate to see that.
That's just an ADC diff right there, you know, like
Yep, that
or
is
the roll diff.
right. That is unfortunate, but man, what a set this was for the Hounds. Really good statement win. At the same time, what a devastating loss for the Valkyries. Not just, as a team, but I think individually, some really rough individual performances over the course of the weekend. Not just in this set, but in the entirety. Kierme, who I think is really, really good and is one of my favorite players to watch, was one of my favorite players to watch going into this tournament. Really feel like Kierme, and this is still true, I still feel like Kierme has good potential to be a top SPL jungler in the future. That guy, I feel like that guy gets it. As far as what you need as a teammate and what you need to do as an SPL player. That being said, boy, was this a bad weekend for him.
Yeah, I think across the board, I was not understanding any of the plays that they were going for. It kind of just seemed like all the plays that we're doing, or a lot of the plays that I saw, it seemed like the plays that you'd be making like 5, 6, 7K down, and you're like desperate for something, and you're like, okay, like you see a play in front of you, and you're like, this is the only play we can do. We have to force this regardless of situation.
Yep.
And all of Valk's plays seem like that. They just seem so weird and so forced and desperate. And I remember seeing a tweet from Benny saying that they had just been regressing over the last like month or so. And I mean, in my opinion, they've been regressing since summer split.
Right.
And kind of just unfortunate timing. I mean, this is like the only time of the year, in my opinion, that matters.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, they look terrible. Like,
yep.
Awful.
Not great for the Valks. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. Especially, you know what bothered me the most about this whole set was game 2. I got to talk about it. Benny not having items at the start of the game. Okay?
Yeah.
I saw his tweet that, there was a pause and it just got lost and all that kind of stuff. And I have...
I don't care if the studio caught on fire, bro.
Yeah.
Like...
Thank you. Me either. There is
I mean,
no...
I do care if the studio
Okay, well, yeah, that would obviously be really terrible. But I'd be like running out of the studio like, I gotta buy items when I get back.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta make sure. That is so... man, I'm trying to like use the friendliest language I can in this situation. That is a massive red flag to me when I'm watching that happen. Because in my opinion, there are two ways that can happen. There are two explanations that come to the only two explanations that come to mind that can explain it are, number one, he was really still thinking about the game 1 loss and was in his head about losing that game, so much so that he wasn't focused on the game in front of him, which is definitely not acceptable. And number 2, he was so not concerned about the state they were in, being down 0-1, and he wasn't feeling any type of investment or anything like that to not double check the items. In either one of those scenarios, it is impossible to be a top tier player if either of those are true, and those are the only two that I can think of. And I feel for him, man, because that sucks. Like, it's obviously, in my opinion, it's got to be the pressure, because I do think Benny cares. He's a really good player. He's really clearly developed and matured, but you're under a lot of pressure. You're in that moment, and you make a brain fart, and that sucks. But it is, in every big esport and traditional sport, it would be a big story. So I feel like I've got to talk about it because it's on my mind. You do hate to see that. It didn't end up mattering like that much, but it's more about like the fact that it happened at all, right? That raises concern for me.
Yeah, it's just kind of unlucky. Also, Benny, you're a masochist for even being in chat right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
players love
brother.
hearing it, bro.
Yeah,
Benny, Dardes, they love it. And Benny, I'm sorry, man. It's nothing personal, I swear. But like I said, I just think that in most scenes that would be a story that would be talking about, and that's just the way that I see it. That's just the way I see it.
I mean, it just kind of sucks as an Uller, to back when nothing's going on and kind of lose your Uller pressure a little bit. Obviously, I don't think I lost the game off of it, but
No.
If my teammate forgot to buy items, I'd be like, dog,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
No, that's not making
together,
you
man.
feel confident for the rest of that game. Like, if your teammate forgot to buy items, you'd be like, oh. That's
here
where
we go.
That's
this is where we're at right now.
That is not inspiring confidence. I'm definitely not saying. I don't think that I was. If it sounds like I was trying to pin the whole event on you, Benny, that's not what I meant at all. And I definitely don't think it was all on you or on anyone else. We were just talking about how Kirmi was having a really bad event.
Oh yeah.
I thought Gamma didn't play. Like, Benny could have, unless Benny didn't buy items. Bad. Yeah, like unless Benny didn't buy items the whole game, it won't ever be on just one person.
I think everyone was off individually, and then I think the team was way off.
Yes.
Like, for a team that's been together for so long, playing like or looking from top down like you're a bunch of ranked players is not. I mean, obviously,
yeah,
it's not what you're going for. But yeah, that's
well.
A very big shock to me, because I was pretty set on Titans and Valks going. And then we can go on to the next team.
The next team that is going to be getting roasted here, which is, of course, the Scarabs. Yeah, man, what?
Bro, I have no idea. Okay.
You want to talk about draft brains, like, just getting absolutely twisted.
Yeah.
This draft against Hex Mambo, like, as the set went on, I was like... I had to get up from my computer in the middle of the Game 3 draft and, like, walk it off a little bit. I just couldn't... Again, it's really easy to sit outside of the booth and see all of this from a non-player perspective and be like, how could you ever think that this is how it's going to go? Like, this is the right thing. It's so easy to say that, and it is so hard when you're in that booth. And until you're there, and I haven't been there at a high enough level, of course, but I hear it from all the players all the time, and even from my small competitive experience, I do understand how hard...
You go into a vacuum when you go in those rooms.
You're in a different universe. Like, it just... The laws of the universe change in there, and it is really, really hard to keep everything straight. That being said, this was still, objectively... I still think that this set was all draftive. I think it was all draftive. Obviously, Hex Mambo are good enough to play at Worlds, and I don't want to discredit them in any way, shape, or form. That team is really good and deserves their spot. The Scarabs should have won this set, regardless. But they beat themselves, and Mambo beat them in the draft. Mambo drafted really, really well. This isn't Scarabs inting. Mambo drafted really well, and Scarabs drafted really poorly, and Scarabs would have had to play 3 times better than Mambo in order to win this set, and of course they didn't, because Mambo's a really good team. But I think this set really came down to draft and then the way the map was played as well.
Yeah, I feel like as the set went on, Scarabs got worse.
Yep.
And then weren't able to pick it up from there. Like, in scrims, I felt like this team had so much potential, and they were doing so many different things on the map. I mean, I guess I can just say now, like, because it doesn't really matter. Like, Snoopy was rotating everywhere. He was playing, like, super aggressive gods and, like, making
where
a lot
was
of
the
pressure.
set? Snoopy's a 6 set player. He dominated the set ADC meta. He was one of the best ADCs in that meta. Set mid is good.
I felt like the Chronos wasn't doing too much, and then game 3, they're like, we have to take the Chronos away, and I'm like, what? Like,
Dog, Zeros didn't see a fight from level 3 to level 17 in both games. Why?
Yeah.
Why are mids allowed to sit there for 14 levels? And it's not even just the Scarabs. I feel like there was so little mid play this entire event. It was so much more about side lanes. Like, it was so much more about playing through the side lanes. This was like the least mid-centric land meta I've ever seen in 10 years almost of Smite. I feel like this is the least mid-centric meta I've ever seen, and I don't really understand how it got here. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it won't, you know? That's the thing about this, is that the 4 best teams in the world didn't play in this event. So, who knows? You know, things like no Yamoja and not playing through mid, like, Worlds could come around, Yamoja could be the best, the top Guardian, and everyone could be jamming mid pressure, and that's all we play. And we'll have to just kind of wait and see. But this event felt so weird to me for that, and this set was really... And it's because the best teams at events usually set the metas, right? Like, that's what happens. Whatever team looks the best, everyone just kind of tries to copy them a lot of the time. And Mambo looked like maybe the best of these teams playing here. So everyone just started playing what they were playing, which is Zero's trying to pacifist run the first 23 minutes of the game, and then waltz in and kill all your towers late game, which is wild. Yeah, just this set, like, I could talk for 6 hours about this set alone.
Yeah, I didn't like Sam on the Naja. I mean, granted, he got first blooded, I think, in game 2, and then I think when a Naja gets first blooded, like level 3, level 4, the game is chalked.
Yep.
And then game 3, I think that was the Circuit game, and I'm like, I was even more confused.
Yeah, that Circuit pick didn't make a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, I just feel like that's got to be one of the worst gods in Smite right now.
Well, it's like, if you're trying to snowball early, like, maybe, but you picked Kronos with it, you know? And it's like, you've got this jungler that needs to fight early. Needs to. It's the only thing she can do, is find picks. And then you pick really low pressure, doesn't want to really fight that much in mid. It's just like, no... And this shouldn't be any surprise. Like, if we didn't hear all this hype about the Scarabs for the first few weeks, or for the last few weeks coming into this event, and the Scarabs showed up and looked like this, everyone would be like, yeah, well, their roster got farmed this year. This roster is brand new. They didn't really know who they are as a team. All of this makes sense. And no one's, like, pressed about it. But because they got a lot of hype, and because everyone was talking about how well they were playing, and because they looked good at the end of the SPL phase, everyone had these expectations, and myself included. And I think they clearly just did not meet those in terms of what they did as a team and individually.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of the ones that was hyping them up so much, and that was just based off of, like, one day of scrims, and then Gen X was also hyping them up a lot.
Yeah. You guys weren't the only two. I heard a lot of other, like, players and talking to them in DMs and that kind of stuff, saying they were doing well.
I just feel like they didn't do what they were doing in scrims. Like, just play how you normally play. I feel like if you're trying to adapt to a team that, especially like Mambo has such specific god pools and specific play styles. Like, you're never going to match Mambo at what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, Zeros has like 20,000 Chronos hours. Like,
Yep.
You're just not going to match that. He knows how to farm. He knows how to play safe. Like, it just seems so weird to try to, like, oh, we're going to steal your pick and hopefully you don't know how to play any other god. Like,
right.
I don't know. It just seems, like, desperate, I guess.
Yeah, no bans towards it. Literally just that one pick and then not target banning after that. So it was literally pick your second favorite god.
Yep.
Which is usually not a great strategy. I mean, yeah, I also have to say, I mean, I could also talk about it later on, but I thought it was very apparent in this set and in the next one for the Scarabs. Scary D had, I think, the worst event of any player there.
Yeah.
Just the decision-making, the building, the mechanics, none of it was there for Scary. And that's so not typical for who Scary has been as a player. Scary has been a player who will somewhat routinely look like this during the regular season and then come in and look like prime Benji at Worlds. Yep. It was the furthest thing from that imaginable. I think Scary just yeah, I don't know. There isn't a super kind way to say it. I love Ronnie as a dude, but man, I think the worst. I think he had a worse event than Kierme or Benny or anyone else on Valks. I think Scary had the worst event of any player. Not even SPL only. Like, that week.
Which is really disappointing as a big Scary D fan. I don't know. It just seemed like he had one thing that he wanted to do, and he did that one thing, and then it didn't
Was that
work,
die to
and
ganks
then-
over and over again, or?
It was.
Oh
like,
no,
play
it was
the
die to
most-
his solo laner over and over again.
It was like play the most aggressive I possibly can, like
Yeah.
blind aggression, and it was confusing.
Especially against Mambo, where do you know, like, Johnny goes one place on the map. He goes one place. That guy goes one area, and it's solo lane. My mans will not be anywhere else the entire game in the early, except for solo. And that's why I was, like, losing it that Sam was trying, like, especially after the first two games where Scary is just having a rough set. Sometimes you just have those days, whatever. And especially after game one where Net went absolutely crazy on the ROM. If I'm Sam, I'm going, sorry, dude. You might not get a blue. You might not get a blue this week. Like, I'm not coming. I don't care if Scary is 6 levels down, dude. I'm getting Net big, I'm getting Snoopy big, and I'm getting Hurry big. And we will just try and 4v5 this fight. But at least us 4 are gonna have that advantage. It's so easy to, again, get lost in it. Got to help your teammate that's losing. It doesn't feel good when one person's losing. They should have just sent Scary off to sea, man. Let him float. Johnny and Deathwalker they have the whole solo side kingdom. It's all theirs. I think if Scarabs played duo and mid, they would have had a significantly better chance to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree.
Unfortunate. A lot of our talk about this set has been Scarab's focus, but that's because that's the team we're more familiar with. As for Mambo, talking about this set and their set against the Warriors, I say it all the time on this podcast, but it is so valuable understanding who you are as a team and how you win. And I think Hex Mambo is a perfect example of this. This team is not super multifaceted. They aren't going to absolutely surprise you with their strategies. They're going to pick the gods you know they're going to pick. But they don't, if they get their Chronos picked away, they aren't like, I think I should maybe pick Uller mid here. Like, that's kind of what I'm feeling. No, he picks Baba, and he does the same plays. It's the same game plan. Over and over and over again. It is Johnny not going to duo, not going to mid, sitting in solo. It is Deathwalker on a pick that he can control fights with and set tempo with. And they just do that every game. And they're really good at it. And that's good enough. Like, that's all you really have to do for a lot of your career. And I think that Hex Mambo, the thing that definitely impresses me the most is how clearly they seem to understand their game plan. And the big thing is when their matchup in the quarterfinals, you guys, the Olympus Bolts, I'm assuming, are going to come in with a game plan against that style of strategy. If you get lucky and you happen to, Barry, how do they respond is the real test of how good this team is. Because uninterrupted, if you let Mambo solitaire you, they are good enough to beat anyone.
No, they're definitely an SPL level team.
Absolutely an SPL level team. At this strategy. We will see if it extends beyond this strategy, or if this strategy truly is, sometimes strategies are the best thing you can do. And maybe this is how everyone...
Kronos and Baba, what's he gonna pick?
Oh no, you're gonna, instead of first picking Danza, you're first picking Kronos, you're picking Baba next. Oh my god, what is Zero's playing then? I can't wait for your set. I think I'm jumping ahead to the World Championship preview. But I think you guys have by far the most exciting quarterfinal set. I'm gonna be locked, Barry. I'm gonna be standing up front row, right in front of your where you're playing. I'm gonna be looking right at you when you first pick Danza. Will you look at me in the crowd?
Yeah, I'll wink at you.
Yes. Okay, that's big because I'm gonna be right there. I'm so locked in for this Worlds, dude. I can't wait. I'm so stoked. Yeah, Mambo's really good. They have a legitimate chance at making a run at this World Championship. I will say I do think that their side of the bracket is almost the nightmare scenario for them because they play you guys who typically, historically, have played very quickly, and they could certainly struggle with that. And then they play the Kings, who are maybe the one team in the world who is better at solitaire than them, and could potentially just handshake the first 25 minutes of the game and then still beat them later on down the line. So they're kind of getting tested on opposite ends of the polls, which is really, really cool and really, really exciting. And it'll be a real let's see, you know? No one knows, but this team is for real. Like, if they don't have that much worse of a chance at a championship than half the teams at this event.
Yeah, in my opinion, this event's kind of just a coin flip. I feel like most teams, well, I guess we'll get back to the Worlds or the qualies because I don't want to skip too far ahead and get off.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Someone in chat asked about the solitaire analogy. I'm saying solitaire in the we just want to try and we're both gonna play our own strategy. Like we're gonna pick our 5 gods. You're gonna pick your 5 gods. We aren't gonna interact with one another. We're just gonna farm the map as best we can. Each of our 5 players, and then we're gonna go to Fire Giant and we're gonna fight once and see who wins. That's kind of how I describe solitaire most of the time, is as little fighting as possible. We are trying to just execute our game plan without any interference. You are trying to execute your game plan without any interference. Let's see who wins. And it's just a scaling slow style of play. And when executed well, very fun to watch if you're heavily invested in Smite. If you aren't heavily invested in Smite, typically very Resident Sleeper. Look, that's just how it is. All right, let's talk Warriors next because I think we're gonna have more to say potentially about the Ravens. The Warriors, they beat the Storm 2-0 on Thursday as expected. They come in, they lose 3-1 to Mambo on Saturday, and they lose 3 in a row to Mambo in particular. Warriors, they kind of do exactly what I assume all Warriors sets are going to look like, or like weekends are going to look like, which is they have one set where they just look like totally lost. They just like, I don't know what exactly they're looking at, or I don't see the direction, that they're trying to move. And then they show up the next day and you think like, oh, how did this team ever forget how to play Smite at times? So it's like you got the full Warriors experience this weekend. What did you think when you were watching some of their games, Barry?
They played better than I thought they would, honestly.
Yeah.
On the last podcast, I was pretty hard on them. I did not think that they were going to qualify. And they surprised me. I think they're still really far away from their potential. I think individually they had some pretty bad performances this weekend.
I agree. In the Mambo set, Neil was just absolutely sprinting it down. Yeah. He was running it down. He was really bad that day.
Yeah, and I think if you're giving the deaths that Neil was giving, I think it's kind of hard for the rest of your team to play really well. Mm-hmm. I think there was one of his Atlas games where he just died really early to like I think it was a Hebo Chronos, and when you're dying to a Hebo Chronos, like they are getting accelerated in the mid game. Like,
oh yeah,
they are just launching themselves, and I'm not like putting all the blame on Neil by any means. I think everyone obviously had a few mistakes here and there. But their drafts were pretty good. They were just drafting Oni solved drafts, which I can't harp on a team for picking, your style.
Sure.
I do think execution of their drafts was kind of lackluster.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean they qualified. They beat
They're
Bugs.
there. They're there. Is there
Guy in
anyone?
chat said easier to shot call from the gray screen.
So true. Mifflin, speaking of Mifflin, like from 40 minutes ago, Mifflin would always say that he would intend his team on Xbox would talk so little without him that he would intentionally 1-for-1 a fight so that he could just see more of the fight and call from there. You can believe that if you want. That's up to you. I can't control you one way or the other. Yeah, I think that again, Mambo just showed that they are. Mambo is not a team that's going to lose to themselves. You have to beat them.
Yep.
And Warriors were incapable of beating them on Saturday. And so they did not. And that brought us to Sunday, where it looked like it was going to be real clean and easy for the Warriors. Game 1 was pretty back and forth between the Warriors and the Bugs, but ultimately get the win. Game 2 was pretty clean from the Warriors, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm getting those two mixed up, but one of them was kind of close. The other was pretty clean. And then Game 3 happens, and the Warriors get crushed. Both of these games, I'm sorry, you're right. Chat just reminded me. Both of these games, the Scarabs had really good control and just had maybe some of the worst, like, cascading of ints I've seen in my entire life. I said I would call it all the time, and funny enough, speaking of Mifflin, it's what we used to call, when we would play against Mifflin's team, he played on Eager, we would call it the Eager conveyor belt, where if you kill one, the next one will deliver themselves to you in order to help the first person. And then when that person dies, the next one is right there, having just jumped in order to help their teammate. And we would call it the Eager conveyor belt. The Bugs conveyor belt was moving at a speed unknown by man. It was you could literally like take a GIF of it and put it in the dictionary for the conveyor belt. Like they just they had fights in game 1 and in game 2 where if one person died, it didn't matter. They were heavily favored to win the game, and they just decided to go in and help them, and go in and help that guy, and go in and help that guy, and throw completely winning positions away. Game 1 and game 2, and you just can't win when that happens. You just can't win when you lose two absolutely back-breaking fights in the exact same very, very avoidable way.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the fights you're talking about, unfortunately, because I've been very
Bro,
busy.
you would lose it. You would lose it. In particular, game 1 by a tier 2 tower. Like, I can't send it to you because I'd have to minimize your video. Yeah. I could find it so easily on the VOD though. Like I couldn't believe it. It was so bad.
I mean, sometimes that just happens. But if it's happening consistently like that, that is just unlucky.
Yes.
Because sometimes you're like, oh, help me, and you don't want to say no, you know?
Yep.
But sometimes you just have to be like, nah, you're dead, bro. I will see you later.
Every man for himself. That's sometimes what you got to do. Which was a real... I don't know why I'm bringing back so many SCL memories here, but we were doing a listen-in one time with Paul's Xbox team, and they got a Gold Fury, and they were running away, and I think it was Paul yelled, and I quote, "Every man for himself," on the way out. Because someone got caught, and they were like, "Can we help him?" And Paul was like, "No, every man for himself." And they got out of there. Which is solid for them.
Respectable.
And then so game 3, the Scarabs crush. Sam like 1v9s the game. Just got off to a good start on Pele and absolutely hard carried. I thought Sam, for what it's worth, we talked about how Scary I think had the worst individual event. Snoopy had a really, really rough set in this set. In particular, the Scylla game, obviously very bad. Sam, I thought, looked really good to great the vast majority of this event. And, these things do matter a lot at this time of year, especially because players are considering who they might want to play with next year and all that kind of stuff. I think Sam, for getting kicked this year, turned around and had a really good second half of the season with the circumstances in mind.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure.
Which is good to see. Netrioid, of course, had some really high moments in this set. He also had some very classic Netrioid positioning and relic usage in this set, but as I've said before, he's Arkel 2.0. That you get what you get, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah, the disco passive game was the hardest I've seen anyone carry of that tournament,
bro.
And then I was like, oh yeah, Scarab's looking really good. They came in with a good strategy, like a good identity, like play through duo, give Netroid the passive, and then I'm like, what happened the rest of the time?
Yeah, I don't know. That's all you needed at times.
Yep.
Yeah, Chad also saying that Hurry looked good. I agree. I think Hurry looked pretty good in support during his time there. But, okay, so then we get to Game 4, and this is the game where everyone is just missing everything. The nerves were so clearly high on both sides. Everyone's using relics terribly. Everyone's positioning terribly. So many mistakes. And it was fun because of it. And you could really feel that drama. Was there a single soul on this earth, if the Warriors would have lost this Game 4, that thought they had any chance at a Game 5? Except for, I don't even know if you could say those 5 players in that booth. If they would have been up 2-0 and been on the back of a potential reverse sweep again, I would have bet the house on the Scarabs to win that Game 5. There is no chance. That was the Warriors either got eliminated in Game 4 or went to Worlds. There's no difference between Game 4 and 5. Or Game 4 and the end of the set. Game 5 was literally, they could have not played it.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous during Game 4. Once Sam hard carried Game 3, I'm like, oh no. It's actually going to happen.
I was like, okay, they're 2-1. Maybe the Scarabs can come back. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. They could be up 2-0. And they could be tied 2-2.
Yep. Dardas.
Dardas in chat said, I was not going to let this happen. I could tell. Dardas, the game is that game was so ugly and so messy. And then Dardas just finds this little alleyway around fire with the Hera. And Dardas legitimately almost one-shot the entire team. That was the biggest Hera ult I've ever seen in my entire life. Even outside of the moment, he hit both backliners, I think. Or he definitely, he hit Snoopy dead on his dome. Got both his relics, forced him out of the fight. Hit, all of the front line. That one play saved the Warriors season. Because the longer that game goes on, Barry, who do you think is getting more nervous? Okay?
Honestly, probably everyone watched.
Me! I'm getting more nervous. I was I couldn't take my eyes off the screen in that game, but I felt like that was an absolutely huge play from Dardas, and good. Dardas, I want more of that from you. Top 2 Hera, who cares? Give it to him. Let the man do his thing. You popped off, and the Warriors do make it to the World Championship in a really, really exciting, really fun set to watch, for sure. And that brings us to the dark horses of the tournament, the Highland Ravens. We didn't give this team a whole lot of prep, during last week's episode because they had a new support, and their mid isn't here. He's in Europe. So we didn't have to pay that much attention to them, right?
And to be fair, they stunk it up at the last land.
They sure did.
To be fair,
they sure did.
They were the ones that stunk it up. I would have talked way more highly about that team if they had come off of a hot performance like I was about Mambo.
Yep.
But Ravens were just not looking that great. And how are they playing better with a different support and angry on ping? Hello? Bro.
I don't know. I don't know.
I genuinely don't know how it's possible. Maybe it's just like it just doesn't matter. So you can just play so much more freely. I don't even know if that makes sense. Like I genuinely don't know how they played so much better at this event than they did the previous one. Actually,
I mean, it's just candidate worlds, baby. That's it.
Dude, the amount of names at this event is like the earlier seasons.
I'm so amped for this event, man. I literally.
Like, how do we have Deathwalker versus Baskin? How?
Sure, dude. Imagine saying at the beginning of the year that's going to be the quarterfinal
Right?
solo matchup as Deathwalker versus Basket. I'd be like, oh my god, what happened? Like, did a team like I don't even know. Like, absolutely crazy, and it's so awesome, man. It's so awesome. I mean, yeah, the Ravens, like, obviously...
I mean, they looked really good. Like,
they looked really good. Like, this is the team that obviously has the least amount of expectations going into this event. You know, they got 2-0'd. One of the two games against the Titans was very close. The other was not. It was a complete blowout. Then they 2-0'd the Valks and looked really good doing it. That being said, the Valks did not look SPL caliber in that set. I don't think anyone would really argue otherwise. And then they play against a Hounds team that is obviously very talented, but also didn't play that well. And this isn't to take away from the Ravens. These teams not playing well is in large part due to what they are doing. That being said, it isn't... You should be playing at a level, if you're feeling really confident at Worlds, you should be playing at a level where you feel like you can beat everyone on their best day.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens certainly have not seen anybody on their best day. And as good as they looked with Angry on Ping and Cozy there as a new support, it is fair to say that if an SPL team like, say, the Camelot Kings, the number 1 seed, by the way, plays their best day, it is not going to look good for the Ravens, is my expectations. But what do they have to lose, man? They played so well. They played so loose. Like, that's the big thing to me is that we said it coming in, SEC teams have nothing to lose. Like Kenneth said in a pregame interview, all that kind of stuff. I really feel like this team feels that and is playing with that freedom in a way that Hex Mambo is not. That this team does just understand that they're playing with house money and whatever happens, happens. And that's really freeing, as I said last week. And so who knows? You know? You never know. Yeah, Genetic saying their win versus Hounds is well earned. Thought the Valks were the ones inting into them far more. Agreed, the Hounds played better than the Valks did in their head-to-head matchups. But I still felt like as soon as this set was 2-0 Ravens, that there was a 0% chance that the Hounds were even winning a game because of their lack of experience in comebacks and in what I know of that team and their players and their mentalities. I thought that set was over as soon as the Hounds went down 2-0, which is a lot of credit to the Ravens to get them to that point, of course. Sorry, I just ranted forever about the Ravens. What were your takeaways, Barry?
Well, I already went over my takeaways in the beginning, but
True.
I was unable to watch that set. I don't think I watched any of that set.
It wasn't...
Hounds Ravens set.
Game 2 was like kind of close, but otherwise, Ravens pretty clearly dominant in this one. Impressive stuff from them. Excited to see what they do. Don't let Kenneth get Thor. All that kind of stuff.
Oh, please let him get Thor. Just one game.
Just
one game.
Popped on that pick, which is awesome. It's so much fun. I can't wait to see what that team does for sure. All right, let's go to the actual Smite World Championships then, and what our expectations are. The bracket is the top half is the Camelot Kings up against the Highland Ravens. The Olympus Bolts up against Hex Mambo. Tartarus Titans up against the Leviathans. I reversed those seeds. It's the Leviathans is the 2 seed, Titans is the 7 seed. And then Jade Dragons versus the Oni Warriors. So if it's seeding that you're looking at only, it would be Kings versus Bolts in the semifinals and Leviathans and Dragons in the other semifinals. And then from there, you can kind of figure it out. It's only 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Did the picking process go as you expected? Because the SPL teams were able to pick which opponents they wanted. Did the picking process go as you expected? And what are your overall thoughts on the bracket here, Barry?
Yeah, my prediction was that we were playing Mambo. Because I don't think any other team really wants to play against Mambo.
And why would they?
Yeah, exactly. And we obviously didn't have choice. So I was like, it takes a lot of pressure off of us to just kind of like, you just show up and like, okay, this is who you play. So
yeah,
that's kind of nice in a way. Because I don't think it really matters for us. I think it was between like Warriors and Mambo. I guess since Dragons chose them. So when it comes to that, like I don't really care to face like either team. It's all about us showing up and us playing our game. Like a lot of times we're the ones that beat ourselves, in my opinion. So if we got to choose, I feel like it's the same outcome either way. Like whatever we do on the world stage. Yeah, I don't think I was surprised at all by the selection across the teams. I feel like Kings probably thought Ravens were the worst team there, which makes sense. They're SEC. They were the SEC coming out of the lower bracket as well. Warriors have the X factor of showing up randomly. Titans kind of have an X factor in my opinion with Aurora and Paul. I think those are like 2 of the best game day players.
Yeah.
So I was a little surprised at Titans going earlier, but not too surprised. I feel like they have Levi's have a pretty good matchup into them because I feel like strategy wise, Levi's kind of know exactly what Titans will be doing.
Yeah, I think that the Leviathans had the second choice. They chose the Titans over Hex Mambo or Oni Warriors, but I think that they have a very good matchup into the Titans, and are very familiar with that team. And I'm not like, oh, of course they picked the Titans, but it doesn't surprise me that they did. And I think they do. The Titans are certainly more consistent than the Warriors, but maybe the Warriors like have that next level that they could hit out of nowhere that the Titans haven't shown the propensity for quite yet. I don't know. The Titans, I think the hardest thing about the Titans is that they're hard to pick and ban against. And one thing, I think I said this a few weeks ago on the podcast, one thing that the Leviathans don't get enough credit for, I think, is how well they've picked and banned their entire time in the league. That core,
I agree.
And Oxy as a coach, I don't know if he does a lot of picks and bans for them. That team very rarely loses in picks and bans, and therefore is one of the hardest matchups for the Titans, where I think that's one of their best strengths is how hard how hard they are to pick and ban against.
And in my opinion, if they are leaving like the set open, if they are leaving the Naja open, they're going to force you to pick it, and then they will be countering it pretty easily.
Yeah, and Panatom's
we'll
probably the next best Naja player in this tournament, maybe Twig. But Twig and Panatom, the 2 best other Naja players besides Sino. So it actually is valuable to have them going up against him.
Yep. And then I'm not really surprised by Dragons picking Warriors over Mambo. I think Mambo looked pretty good against Dragons last time. And I don't think Dragons really want the SEC debuff that you get as an SPL team playing against an SEC team. Because you don't want to lose that. You don't want to make mistakes. Like teams will panic a lot. Like if 1 or 2 plays goes bad against an SEC team, like you start like over-analyzing situations instead of just looking at like these guys are good players and mistakes will happen even though you're an SPL team. But a lot of times, like I just think SPL teams psych themselves out against SEC teams. And I think Dragons like. You can either pick the poison you're used to, which is Warriors, or pick like a brand new poison, which is Mambo. And like playstyle wise, god selection wise, Mambo is unique compared to every other team coming into this event.
Yep.
So it makes sense for Dragons to go with the more familiar team that they've beaten before.
Yep. I mean, who knows? Maybe Neil activates against Mike, as he sometimes does. Neil teams seem to get the edge in those matchups, but the Dragons Warrior set is just like, man, who is one team? These are the two most inconsistent teams, I would say. Which one is going to not lose to themselves? Obviously, the Dragons are very favored in that, but you never know. Dude, this event is going to be so awesome! Holy crap! I can't wait. It's only a few days away. What? Like 2 sleeps, and then we're there.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to sleep tonight.
Yeah, that's probably good.
I have to get up and go to the airport, so...
Oh, boy. You got to get some sleep, Barry. That's not going to be good for your sleep schedule if you don't. That's going to be tough otherwise. Time change as well. Don't forget. Different time zone.
We're going to Central.
Going to Central. Yeah, that sounds right. I don't know. This is the farthest west I've ever been. I've never been further west than Texas. Or than St. Louis. And Texas is obviously further west than that. So this will be a new experience for me, which I'm very excited about. Assuming you guys get supremely unlucky, because I'm assuming you would, of course, pick yourselves to win, given the opportunity. If the Olympus Bolts are not winning the Smite World Championship, due, again, sheer to only bad luck, who do you think is going to win the Season 9 Smite World Championship?
I would say Kings.
Yeah?
I think is the most realistic, I think. And then obviously second would be Leviathans.
Yep.
I think there is a large gap between Kings and Leviathans and everyone else right now coming to this event.
I agree.
And I do think that their playstyles with Kings and Leviathans favor the big events so much more than it's playstyle wise it's so much different to play at a big event with a I would say like a fast paced playstyle than the slower paced, more methodical playstyle. Not saying that Levi's and Kings don't ever like jam it and play aggressive. But I think that the way they play the map and it's so objective focused and very, very clean. There's not very many 50-50 plays that they're going for. With Kings and Leviathans, a lot of them are the higher percentage plays that aren't risky.
Yep.
And I think that those style of plays and those styles of execution just work so much better on big stages. And in my opinion, I think Dragons are kind of a sleeper team at this event.
No pressure on them, as Chad just pointed out.
Yeah, they haven't been looking like the Dragons of earlier this year, where Pagon was literally just diffing like everyone. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, they kind of like transitioned into a more normal team as it went on, and they don't have the big mechanical outplays that I was seeing in the earlier split, or the earlier season. Sorry. Yeah, I would say Dragons maybe like third, but I would just say that they're the most likely dark horse of the event.
Yeah, I think that's super fair. I did an interview recently with the Long Lane, which is like a website that does written content for the SPL. Everyone should check it out. It's really, really fun. I talked for way too long during that interview, as you can guess. I said basically the exact same thing. The Kings and the Leviathans are the two top teams, and then there's a significant gap between them and everybody else. I would, if we were betting and you gave me the Kings and the Leviathans versus the field, I would feel very comfortable taking the Kings and Leviathans against the field. I would not take the Kings or the Leviathans against the field. So I'm not super confident that I know which of those two teams is going to win. I would be surprised if it is not one of those teams. My gut is telling me it's Leviathans as the favorite, in my opinion. But this world is going to be so different, like, in comparison to the last few, that I think we could very easily have an SK-style Worlds, where a team that no one is expecting just has a really good weekend and the crowd gets behind them, and all of a sudden they mess around and win. So, I have no idea.
In my opinion, that team's probably Mambo, honestly.
I was actually talking with some people. It is interesting that you guys got the matchup because, Barry, you're obviously a fan favorite. People typically cheer for the Bolts. It's a popular team. Imagine if imagine if Hex Mambo was going up against, like, and this is no offense to anybody else, but like the Titans or the Warriors, or a team that isn't as popular among most fans. The crowd would be like 90-10 Mambo. It is going to be more even with you guys than it would be for anybody else except the Dragons, probably. The Dragons, the most popular team. You guys up there as well. I wonder what the crowd split is going to be like for your set. Because
I feel like
it's going to be loud.
Cheering for the underdog, dude.
I think a lot of people are going to be cheering for the underdog as well, but I think that you guys are going to get some cheers. You know, there are some long-time Barra and Ven stands out there who want to see you guys succeed.
I wouldn't blame anyone if we got 0 cheers and all the cheers were for Mambo. I would not. Or like, I feel like Mambo and Ravens are going to get the most cheers.
I think so too. It's such a cool story. But man, it's going to be something. But yeah, I could see, and a lot of players haven't played in front of a crowd, period, or in a long time. If there's a world,
everyone's going to be playing a little weird, I think, at this point.
I think everyone's going to be playing a little weird. I'd still take the Leviathans or the Kings against the field. Not either one individually. I think it's the Leviathans who are going to win, but I don't feel super confident in it.
Yeah, I just think quarterfinals are going to be a fiesta the entire day.
It's going to be so awesome. That Friday?
Yeah, that Friday might be the best day of the event just because of how much of a fiesta it's going to be. I feel like teams are going to be playing weird. People are going to be doing things that they wouldn't normally be doing. Just kind of like a little desperate, maybe a little like getting the nerves out, you know?
Yeah.
Especially for all the people that haven't played on stage yet. I mean, also, I kind of feel like no one's kind of played on stage because
it's so
no
long.
one's played on. Yeah, it's been like 3 years at this point, dog. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know how to talk to people anymore. Like,
I'm getting amped just thinking about it, baby. Oh, I'm so like. I want to be very clear.
Darna is going to be top 2ing Hera. Like...
Dog, I was just thinking that fourth quarterfinal, that's going to be at like 9 p.m., dog. It's going to be late. Yeah. It is going to be late. Everyone's going to be loopy. It's going to be weird. Yep. It's going to be awesome.
I'm honestly just glad that we're playing earlier in the day because I feel like if we played later, I would be fried.
I think it's going to be really hard to play in that fourth set in particular.
Yep.
I think that's going to be a difficult set to play in and stay locked in for. Yeah.
I think you just have to like avoid fans for a while if you're that fourth set and just kind of like
lock in, baby.
To stay focused, but not too focused because there's some times where I'll watch like 4 to 5 hours of Smite. Oh, that happened against the Dragon set. The Dragon set we were playing for third, fourth. I got there. I waited 2.5 hours before we played, and I was like, I'm so fried for this set. Like for our Dragons set, I was like, I'm gonna try to play serious, but like. Waiting for that long and watching that many Smite games, especially like Levi's won game 3, Levi's won game 4, and then Kings win game 5. I'm like, dude,
yep,
you can't be. You guys are really doing this to us, like
the worst. That is the worst. I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome. I can't believe it's already here. I'm unbelievably excited.
I feel like December was done in like a week.
It was so fast, but it's gonna be great. It's going to be really awesome. If any podcast listeners out there are going, please feel free to come up and say hi at any time. We'd love to chat, get a picture, whatever. Unless Barry has just gotten supremely unlucky and lost, in which case, and this goes for all players, if your favorite player just lost, now is not your time. Don't talk to them. I don't care how nice whatever you're going to say is. I don't care. Just wait. No matter what, you're going to think these words that I'm speaking to you right now, you're going to say, well, I'll just say, I thought you played great. I'm sorry you lost. I love you. Don't, okay? Just wait.
Just wait an hour.
Just wait
2 hours.
a little bit. Just wait. That's all I'm asking. If you can learn one thing from this podcast, it is to, if as soon as a player has lost, give them a few hours. That is it. And then in a few hours, don't ask them about why they didn't pick or ban something.
Oh,
just don't.
Don't do that.
Just don't. I don't care how good of a time you're having. I don't care that you're yucking it up and having a great time. Don't ask, okay? Just don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
That's literally the worst.
Oh, dude, it hurts me. I'm like standing next to players and this is happening to them, and I have literally stepped in to be like, don't ask that, because it makes me so uncomfortable. I can't stand it.
Okay, I have a really bad story that I will share.
Yeah.
I think it was season 5, maybe season 6, that I had just lost. Mm-hmm. And I was literally coming off the stage, 20 feet off the stage. This guy was like, "Hey, Barra, I'm sorry you lost. My dad just died, and I know that you lost your brother, and how did you deal with that?"
Oh my god, no.
I was like, dog, you couldn't give me 15 seconds?
Oh my god, that is the worst thing I've ever heard. Oh no.
Like, Jeff almost decked that guy, bro. Like, Jeff almost knocked him out.
I'm sure he did. That is so terrible on so many levels. I hope that guy's doing better.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, I gave him a lot of advice. But,
you did? You talked to him?
I talked to him for a while.
Oh my god, Barry. You're too kind.
I gave him like 5 minutes, and then Jeff was like, "Bro, we gotta go." Like,
of course!
You gotta go.
Yeah, oh my lord. I can't believe it. I can't believe you even stopped. You're a better man than I am. I would not have stopped. I wouldn't have been a huge jerk, but I wouldn't have stopped. That's for sure. No chance.
Jeff's face, like, seething with anger.
Oh,
like, I'm pretty sure he was angrier about that guy than losing the set.
Well, yeah, I mean, because all of that anger is now at that person. Like, you can't be mad at everyone else, but that guy you could be mad at. Yeah, don't. And now you're going to be thinking, well, at least I'm not doing that. It doesn't matter. You could be saying, hey, Barra, here's $100. And I'll bet you Barra would rather not talk to you than take the $100 in that moment.
I will talk to you, though. If you do come talk to me, I will talk to you regardless of the time. But just know there are better times to
Barra, if you lose, I'm escorting you out of the building. I'm not saying a freaking word to you, but I'm not letting anyone else talk to you. That's it. I'm your bodyguard post-loss. If you get unlucky and that happens, of course. Mm-hmm. But yeah, come up and say hi to us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, special podcast episode next week. It is not on Tuesday. It is on Thursday, January 19th at 8 p.m. It is a special live AMA episode, so it's going to be longer than usual. It's going to be way more fun than usual, which is hard to believe, I know, but it's true. You can get tickets if you want to call into the show and join it and be a part of it. Talk with us on the show. Check the description of wherever you are listening and or watching this, or head on over to prediction.com. That's PREEDICTION.com. Tickets are $7.99, I believe, unless I messed that. No, it was $7. So it was $6.99, and then $4.99 if you are a Patreon subscriber. So check your emails, Patreon subscribers. I'm going to put it in the Discord as well. If you want to join our Patreon, patreon.com/backliners is the place to go for that. You get to be featured on the show. You get to be a part of it. It is so much fun. And again, you don't need to get a ticket in order to be here. But if you want to be a part of the show, that's how you do so. So it'll be great. Can't wait.
Questions of the week?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I almost forgot about the questions of the week. You're right. And I even skipped last week because I was kind of losing it. And this show is long, so I might have to go short here as well. But I apologize. Of course, we're getting our random questions of the week from our community Discord, which you can access by going to patreon.com/backliners. Joe had a question.
One last time.
Yeah, that's right. It maxes at 50 participants, so you can,
There's a max?
there's a max.
Yeah.
So get your tickets now if you want to guarantee your spot. But Joe wanted me to ask you a question first and foremost, Barry. How many potatoes do you think you eat in a year? And we did some research on this. She loves questions like this. The average American eats, what was it? 60 pounds of potatoes a year. Mm-hmm. The average potato is between 6 and 10 ounces. So we called it 8 ounces is the average. That's half a pound is the average potato. Okay. So the average American is eating 120, or no, they eat 120 pounds. So the average American eats 240 potatoes a year, I think it was. Do you think you eat an above average amount of potatoes, about average, or below average amount of potatoes?
That was a lot of numbers. I will say above average because I love mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Secondly, Costco has really cheap potatoes, so I buy a lot of potatoes from Costco.
Yep.
And then I also love making baked like French fries. Because they're just healthier. They taste really good. It like scratches that potato itch.
Yep.
So I'll say above for sure.
I'm definitely above. If the average American eats 240 potatoes a year, there's no way I'm clocking less than 600 potatoes a year. No way. I love it. Chips, French fries, mashed potatoes, doesn't matter. I'm crushing.
Yeah. Any form of potato is really good.
Yep, absolutely agreed. Okay, going to our Patreon Discord here. I'm going to pick some short ones because this episode is long and Barry's got to go to sleep. So I apologize to everybody. We can answer these later on, of course. Mm-hmm. Hiru asked, they've recently been playing Far Cry 3 again and had forgotten how much of a memorable antagonist the game had. Voss Montenegro, great villain. Do you have a favorite or memorable video game antagonist or villain that comes to mind?
I would say I think it's like Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII or Sephiroth. I don't know how to say the name.
Yeah, Sephiroth.
Was one of my favorite ones just because he just seemed so cool when I was young, and he had like the really long, skinny sword.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sephiroth
I obviously don't play that many single player games, so I'm going Sephiroth.
No, I think that's a really good one. I mean, Far Cry 3 was obviously great, in large part because of Voss. Video game antagonists. So often I ask these questions and literally don't start thinking until you're done talking, which is stupid. I really liked... I really liked the Horizon Zero Dawn story. And that game has a lot of different antagonists, so maybe not the best answer to this question, but that game stands out as a story game that I really liked. Having just played the new God of War series, well, not just, but like played the God of War 2018 when it came out, and then Ragnarok when it came out. I really like the way they did Odin in that series, who's obviously an antagonist there. So those are two more recent ones that come to mind. Having trouble thinking beyond that, but those are very cool. Dude, you know what game? I don't know what someone said in chat. Handsome Jack. I read that. Who's from Borderlands? Obviously a great villain. That brain blasted me to a game series that I haven't thought about in forever. Did you ever play Beautiful Joe on GameCube?
Oh, I didn't play it, but I really wanted to.
Bro, I want to go back and play that game right this freaking second. That game series was so sick. I'm looking up gameplay of it as soon as this podcast is over.
Yeah, I remember it was like one of the top games, right?
Yeah, it was like a movie. That's the vibe of the game. Like the theme of the game is that you're a movie character and you could like slow-mo and speed up and all that kind of stuff. And it was awesome. Like it was awesome.
2003.
Holy crap, man. That is wild.
Wow, I feel old.
I know.
That's 20 years ago.
I distinctly remember playing that game. That was 20 years ago?
Yep.
Oh.
Let it sink in.
I'm so old. I'll see you guys in Texas if I don't turn to dust beforehand. Good lord.
Burn me in Texas.
Man.
Oh yeah, Ganon was really good too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Ganon, absolutely excellent. Okay, we're gonna cut it there because this podcast's already been going on too long, and Barry's got to get some sleep.
Getting emotional.
And I'm getting emotional. I gotta go watch Beautiful Joe and see if I can play Beautiful Joe anywhere, like on Steam or something like that. But thank you everybody for watching and listening. We hope you enjoy the Smite World Championships again. Thursday, January 19th is our next podcast episode. It is a live special AMA. Tickets are at prediction.com or check the description. And we will see you there. Hopefully we'll see some of you in Texas. And everyone be safe.
Wait.
Wash your hands, all that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
Dolson's sleeping on Smite game right now?
Yeah, he's sleeping at the studio because the shuttle is leaving there at like 4 a.m. So if you're watching this live, I would recommend heading on over to twitch.tv/Smite game after this.
Yeah, go to Smite game, boys.
I'm going to. I don't know what's happening, but I'm excited to see it.
He's just laying on an air mattress in the middle of the studios.
Oh, God. All right. Well, I know what I'm watching tonight, at the very least. There you go. Again, prediction.com to get those tickets. We'll see you in Worlds, everyone. If you're going to Worlds, wash your hands all the time. If you ever wash your hands in an hour, go wash them. Don't get anyone sick. Please, if you're not feeling good, it sucks, but don't go. Please, don't get people sick.
Yeah, or just wear a mask. Like if you think you're gonna be sick, if you're feeling sick, I will be wearing a mask. And
yeah, I'm gonna be wearing one a lot.
If there's any question marks, just please buy a mask. Just wear the mask. It's not that big of an inconvenience, and it keeps us safe.
Wash your hands too, okay? Everyone
wash
needs to
your face.
Wash it, okay? That's the
wash
way
everything.
Yeah, that's just generally good advice. All right, we'll see you guys there. Have a great World Championship. Until then, Barra, you know what to do.
Bye.
He's got it. He's got.
Oh my gosh, that was.
Was that a potentially world champion level of buy right there? Does that kind of set you off on the right path? I feel like it might have.
That was so strong.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. You got to be feeling.
Oh, it's because Dolson's over here. I can see Dolson's muscles.
Okay. Yeah, that'll do it.